Imagine for a moment that you are never truly alone, not even when you believe yourself to be completely solitary. What if something exists beside you, a presence without form, without face, without voice? Something that perceives every thought you harbor, yet remains silent. Something that feeds upon the weight of your densest emotions, drawing sustenance from frequencies you cannot see. What if entities exist that consume your vital energy as naturally as water flows downhill? This is not metaphor. This is not superstition. This is a cosmology articulated with precision by alchemists, mystics, and occultists across centuries. In the vast esoteric archives of humanity, these entities have worn many names. The ancients called them larval forms of the astral plane. Others named them demons dwelling in invisible dimensions. In our modern age, some interpret them as autonomous thought forms, projections of consciousness that have gained a life of their own, feeding on the psychic energy that birthed them. Yet names matter less than recognition. What matters is this: they exist. And you may be nourishing one at this very moment without awareness. You have felt it, that inexplicable exhaustion that no amount of sleep dissolves, that sudden collapse of spirit for which logic offers no explanation, those dark thoughts that surface from a region of yourself you do not recognize, as if they whisper from beyond the threshold of your own mind. These are signals pointing toward something deeper, an energetic invasion, a parasitic attachment drawing its existence from your own life force. The sages who mapped these invisible territories did not theorize from ignorance. They observed. The Vedic masters perceived the blocking of prana, that vital energy flowing through all living beings, and recognized it as the root of illness and despair. The Egyptian priests understood that dark influences could cling to the aura like shadows feeding on spiritual weakness. The Taoist adepts spoke of stagnation in the flow of qi, recognizing that where energy pools without movement, parasitic forces establish themselves. This knowledge was not born from superstition. It was born from direct perception, from generations of contemplatives who trained their inner sight to perceive what ordinary consciousness cannot access. And their consistent testimony, echoing across cultures and centuries, converges on a single truth. The human being inhabits not one body, but many: physical, emotional, mental, and energetic. In these subtle dimensions, battles occur silently, feeding the entities that dwell there with our own life essence. Long before modern science attempted to explain human behavior through neurotransmitters and clinical diagnosis, the wise ones of ancient civilizations already understood a profound truth. Invisible invasions shape the destiny of souls. They did not need to see with physical eyes to recognize the existence of entities acting upon subtle planes. They felt, they intuited. Above all, they observed. Through symbols and sacred teachings, they left maps of a reality most have forgotten, a realm where energetic forms could interfere with the human soul. In ancient Egypt, the concepts of Ka and Ba pointed toward distinct dimensions of being. The Ka was understood as an energetic double, a vital body, vulnerable to external influences. When the Ka weakened, the physical body would sicken and the spirit would disconnect from its sacred purpose. This was not mere poetic symbolism, but precise observation. Something unseen could attach itself to the human energy field and drain vitality. The Gnostic masters spoke of the archontes, entities dwelling in the astral plane that manipulated human thought and emotion, feeding upon suffering like parasites upon a wound. For those possessing inner sight, these were not metaphorical abstractions, but intelligible realities. Their teachings warned that the human soul could become prey if it failed to cultivate constant inner vigilance. Self-knowledge became the only true barrier. The Vedic tradition, through the Upanishads and advanced yogis, described the asuras, forces that obstructed spiritual evolution when a person's prana had become imbalanced or stagnant. Prana flows through subtle channels called nadis, and where constriction occurs, parasitic forces establish themselves. This is why ancient teachings insisted upon purification of body and mind before spiritual ascent. In Western esotericism, from Paracelso to Franz Bardon, we find meticulous documentation of larval forms, crystallized from obsessive thoughts and unresolved emotions. They acquire semi-autonomy and attach to the human energy field, particularly when vibrating in fear or chronic sorrow. By tolerating destructive thoughts, one weakens the inner shield and becomes a host for inferior entities. Even Christian mysticism and Sufism acknowledged dark spiritual influences without physical form, understood as catalysts activating when the spiritual field is fractured. All these traditions converge. You do not inhabit your body alone. Not all thieves wear masks or enter through doors. Some slip silently through the fractures of your energy field, disguised as persistent thoughts, emotions that refuse to leave, and habits that slowly destroy you from within. Parasitic entities do not manifest as monstrous figures visible to ordinary sight. Their method of operation is far subtler, far more cunning. They camouflage themselves within you as if they were part of your identity, but they are not. To understand how these beings function, you must first recognize that your body does not end at the skin. Your biology intertwines with an electromagnetic field, known across many traditions as the aura or energy body. This field acts as both membrane and antenna, absorbing, emitting, and resonating with the energies around you. When a person exists in chronic emotional states, fear, guilt, hatred, envy, sorrow, that field begins to fracture. Think of it as cracked glass. It now allows passage to what it once blocked. And in those points of weakness, parasitic entities find their opportunity to anchor themselves. They do not attach randomly. They seek vibrational affinity. If your mind is saturated with thoughts of victimhood, you will attract entities that feed precisely on that frequency. These beings do not possess you as in a horror film. Instead, they subtly influence your decisions, repeating the same mental loops. The voice of "I cannot," "No one understands me," "I do not deserve," becomes their sustenance. Because every thought, every emotion is energy, and this energy can be absorbed. Imagine these entities as astral remoras, small creatures clinging to your energy body, slowly draining vitality. At first, you barely notice, but gradually, exhaustion deepens, confusion spreads, disconnection from yourself grows. Motivation dissolves, dark ideas gain territory, and all of this happens without an apparent enemy, because the enemy presents itself wearing your own voice. A parasitic entity often manifests through addiction, whether to sugar, drama, toxic relationships, or endless digital stimulation. Every addiction creates a closed circuit of energy repeating endlessly. That constant recycling, that energy never transformed, becomes fertile ground for these beings. The most disturbing aspect is that parasites often convince their hosts to protect them by sowing fear of release. What would you do if you realized certain emotions you believed were yours were actually whispers from something feeding on your pain? Not everyone possesses the courage to look inward, because looking demands honesty, and cutting these ties demands awakened will. Parasitic entities do not merely feed on your vitality. They act as bridges toward parallel realities where density reigns. In these dimensions, consciousness remains clouded, will grows weak, and the soul perceives itself as fragmented. Every intense, sustained emotion, if not transmuted, becomes a key unlocking doors. Hatred tunes your frequency toward planes where conflict and suffering are currency. When you vibrate constantly at these levels, you become susceptible to influences imperceptible to ordinary sight, yet detectable by the awakened soul. Across cultures, Toltec, Egyptian, Hindu, the existence of entities circling human energy fields was recognized. They waited for fractures, for emotional voids, for moments of inner carelessness. They were described as hungry, wandering, adhesive. They possess no defined form, yet harbor a constant need for vibrational nourishment. More disturbing is that these parasites entangle themselves with your emotional memory field. When trauma strikes deeply, abandonment, abuse, loss, humiliation, and remains unhealed, an echo persists, a frequency unresolved that becomes an anchor for these entities. With time, that unresolved emotion amplifies artificially. You relive the same narrative of pain, rejection, or lack again and again. That loop is sustained, in part, by invisible presences. Yet here emerges a deeper component: unconscious consent. Suffering an energetic attack is not sufficient for parasitism to establish itself. True permission comes from you, sustained through certain mental habits and unresolved emotional agreements. Like a lock requiring a key, a parasite cannot grip without a frequency inviting it. This raises vital questions. What are your internal alliances? Which thoughts do you nourish in silence each day? What emotions do you defend as identity when they are merely unhealed wounds? The answers reveal not only your current energetic state, but also the invisible bonds tethering you. Some people, upon beginning deep meditation or healing work, encounter strange resistances, sensations in the body, thoughts misaligned with their history, even physical interruptions when attempting inner contact. These are not always psychological blocks. Sometimes they are attempts by entities to prevent their own expulsion. Because when you elevate your frequency, when you breathe deeply, when you choose forgiveness and gratitude, you weaken their anchors, and they know it. Living without being drained by parasitic entities is not a luxury. It is a necessity for every soul seeking to grow in consciousness and authenticity. This protection does not come from talismans or secrets hidden outside yourself. It is born from your presence, your intention, and your daily spiritual discipline. The first key is silence. One of the greatest errors of our time is constant noise. We surround ourselves with information and stimulation. Yet silence is ancient medicine. Dedicating 10 minutes daily to sitting with yourself in complete silence, without music, without guidance, without expectation, allows your energy field to reorganize naturally. In that stillness, your soul recovers its voice, and parasites lose their power, for they cannot manipulate a space free from distraction. The second key is conscious breathing. Shallow breathing severs you from your body, and parasitic entities thrive in disconnection. Breathing deeply, drawing air into your abdomen, anchors your consciousness. Place one hand on your navel, the other on your heart, and feel the connection between these two centers. This gesture reconnects you with vital energy and severs the threads, allowing drainage. The third key is examining your emotional bonds. Certain people function as energetic drains, not through malice, but because they themselves are parasitized. Reflect. Who in your circle leaves you exhausted after contact? What situations do you repeat without resolution? Severing or transforming these bonds is not selfishness, it is wisdom. If distance is impossible, protect yourself through daily visualization, wrapping yourself in light and returning to others their own energy. The fourth key is cleansing through natural elements. Water is a channel of natural transmutation. Bathe at least weekly with sea salt, rosemary, or lavender. Imagine all stagnant energy releasing from your body, dissolving down the drain. This act, rooted in ancestral purification rituals, strengthens your subtle field. The fifth key is vigilance over your inner dialogue. Your mind can be the greatest parasite if left unwatched. Every thought of self-criticism, every constant judgment, every unresolved guilt feeds entities vibrating in distortion. Daily mindfulness, observing thoughts without identifying with them, is essential. As you witness without reaction, you begin dissolving the mental patterns that create cracks where darkness seeps in. Imagine your energy field as an ancient castle, carved by centuries of experiences, memories, thoughts, and emotions. Within its walls dwells the most sacred part of you, your essence, your divine spark, the light that never extinguishes. Yet this castle is not impregnable. The doors and windows of your energy, opened through carelessness, fear, or ignorance, permit the entry of invisible forces, parasitic entities that need no chains to bind you, only your unconsciousness. We have journeyed through these revelations, how these forces operate, where they hide, how they feed. Now we arrive at the most crucial threshold, the recognition that you possess the power to close those doors. You do not need to be an erudite mystic or live withdrawn in mountain monasteries. What is required is presence, clarity, and will. 3 keys that every human being can recover when they decide to return to the center of their own energy. True spiritual power is not proclaimed loudly. It is held in silence, in coherence, in small but meaningful actions. In every thought you choose not to feed, in every emotion you transmute, in every relationship you purify, in every meal you bless, in every night before sleep, when you cleanse your field with clear intention. Only light dwells here. Protecting yourself from parasitic entities is not paranoia, it is spiritual hygiene. As you wash your body, you must learn to wash your aura, cleanse your mind, sweep away energies that are not yours. Not because the world is dangerous, but because your energy is precious, and everything of value must be guarded with reverence. This message does not aim to seed fear. It awakens responsibility. Where there is consciousness, parasites cannot survive. Where there is light, darkness retreats. Where there is truth, manipulation dissolves. You have now seen the invisible. You understand that not everything you feel originates within you. You have opened your eyes to the energetic realities surrounding us, and that alone is liberation. The next step is yours. Will you choose to protect yourself? Will you honor your energy as the most sacred thing you possess? Will you live as a conscious guardian of your inner temple? The answer determines everything.